Chris, and this is my 970. It's been a little while, but I'm very glad to be here to make a video. It is a beautiful sunny day here in Florida, about 70 degrees. Absolutely loving it. Hopefully wherever you are safe, you are warm, you are happy. And this video is to basically teach people about what's been going on in the world and what we've learned from it, and something that I've been talking about for a very long time, probably about 2012, 2013. And people are finally starting to see united we stand and divided we fall. Now, if you don't know about the GameStop stocks, this is definitely something I highly recommend you start researching. Now, you don't want to research it by watching CNN or Fox News or MSNBC, PBS, or any of these mainstream lying, Wall Street-backed, billionaire-owned propaganda machines. You want to watch ordinary, and I hate using the word ordinary people because it makes it seem like people are separated and different in class, but regular videos from people that have really nothing to gain. And basically, in a nutshell, what happened was people finally decided when you unite, things get worked out better. And they beat the Wall Street billionaire propaganda and the fakers at their own game. GameStop stocks, which basically lowers the price. So they're basically destroying anybody who was, honestly trying to invest in a company, knowing that if you short it, the price will go down and they just end up buying it all again at lower prices. There's smarter people that know more details into it, and that's not what this is about. So if you want to check into it for much smarter people than me, go check into it. But basically, in a nutshell, what happened is a group of people went on Reddit, and I'm sure other social media networks, and they said, you know what? They're shorting this stock, the GameStop stock, say that 10 times fast, so everybody's going to buy it. And what did that do? It raised the price at one point, I think about almost 1,000%. And when they have margin calls, basically all of these billionaire hedge funds who manipulate the market and have been manipulating the market for as long as there has been a market, got beaten at their own game, and at one point lost billions of dollars. And what it's doing is exposing many things. One, it's exposing already this new government, because they're basically going to back Wall Street and they're going to create more government regulation, which, in a republic that we're supposed to be, government regulation is exactly what a republic needs. And I say that facetiously and sarcastically, but it's exposing them for who they are. Now, not to people like you and I who've known about this forever, but for the average person that basically wants to refuse to listen to how corrupt the system is and how asleep most people are. But if you have been a subscriber to my channel, watch the videos that I've talked about how to be free. Now, you notice this whole thing with GameStop showed that you can literally make billionaires cry, because there's a video of one of the billionaire hedge fund owners, or whatever he is, I don't really care, doing an interview on CNBC about this whole thing, and you see him starting to cry. So if a group of people can make a manipulator who got beaten at his own game cry, you could beat the system. Now remember, I've been saying for years, you don't have to be violent. You don't need guns. You notice with this whole GameStop scenario, some of the average people out there became very rich off of playing a manipulated game that billionaire stock Wall Street owners have been doing for decade upon decade upon decade. I mean, if you just look at the history of the Great Depression, they caused the Great Depression. They made billions and billions off of people that basically would potentially starve to death. And yes, I know we don't have a republic for a long time. I've been telling people that for a long time. I'm just trying to make a statement sarcastically about the direction that this country is headed by using more government control, which is AKA socialism. So yes, I'm very well aware of that. If you watch some of my older videos, I've warned people about that since 2012. But you notice with this whole GameStop scenario, nobody got shot, no building burned to the ground, no one got murdered, there was no violence. And yet, look at the change, the dramatic change that occurred. Now, if people can, instead of focusing on monetary gain, focus on their own true freedom, and you apply the same technique to government and we the people, you can change anything and everything without using a gun, without using a knife, without burning a building, without punching or kicking or hurting somebody. It could be peaceful. All you have to do, and this is my homework assignment for you guys, I want you to watch, I usually don't promote Disney because Disney's part of the problem, but Disney made a movie called Ants, A-N-T-Z. And that movie, basically, the premise of the movie is that there are several large grasshoppers that are bullying a group of thousands, if not millions, of ants. Now, the grasshoppers are 10 to 20 times their size, but there are fewer grasshoppers. And yet, through fear and intimidation, they got the ants to do all the work for the grasshoppers. And they did it because they were scared. And I'm sure if one or two ants stood up to the grasshoppers, they would have been destroyed, and to show an example of the power of the grasshoppers. And at one point, the grasshoppers got all of the food that they ever would need. And one of the grasshoppers questioned the leader of the grasshoppers as to, why do we need to keep doing this? We got so much we can retire. And the leader responds with, it's all about keeping them under control through fear. And at the end of the movie, the ants finally come to realize that when they all unite and band and work together, the grasshoppers don't have a chance. And it's not that the ants need the grasshoppers, it's the other way around. The grasshoppers needed the ants. Well, if you take that and turn the grasshoppers into government or Wall Street or whatever government official you want to pin it to, and have the ants as the people, what they consider common man, the little people, ordinary, which is ridiculous. Just because somebody has more green pieces of paper in their bank account or more digital numbers in their bank account does not make them superior beings. We are all supposed to be of the human race, which is questionable depending on your view of alternate realities and infinite universes, but that's a topic for another time. But my point is, we're all human beings, allegedly, so nobody is far superior because they happen to have more numbers in their bank account. But the point is, the GameStop scenario should show that when people actually work together and unite towards a cause, how instantly change can occur when nobody thought it was possible. Now, if one or two people tried to buy GameStop stock, nothing would have happened. But they literally had hundreds, if not thousands of people all at once decide to buy the stock, and look what they did. And again, 100% peaceful. So if you apply that to government, and the people actually realize, because you need real eyes to realize, that if the people united and made a stand and said no more and don't allow these laws and this stolen election, because like I've said in my previous videos, I've told people your votes don't count. Watch my video, The Truth About the United States Law and You. There's two versions. There's an extended version and there's the original version. And I have other videos from that time period where I tell you how your votes don't count. This is not something new. It's because, one, most people don't believe this stuff is possible. And two, the rest of the people don't think they can do anything because, as they say, they're just one person. Well, that's perfectly true. But if you take one twig, it's easily snappable. But if you take 1,000 twigs and tie them all together, good luck trying to break that. So the whole thing is about unity and teaching people to find an alternative way of being able to make change, and real change, and quick, instant change. That stock went up overnight and literally cost the Wall Street manipulators billions of dollars. And again, No one lost a house or a business as far as somebody burning it down. Nobody got shot. No one was bleeding. Nobody was hungover. Well, that, so celebrating, somebody could have a champagne hangover. But my point is, you had instant change, literally overnight, that basically, quote unquote, stuck it to the man without using a gun, without blowing up a bomb, without burning down a city, and without destroying everything in your community. It can be done. And maybe sometimes we need tragedy to be able to get people to be inspired to create new ways of thinking. There's a reason why governments all over the world have wanted nothing but war for thousands of years. Because war is something that they control. It is something that is scary. It is something that hurts people. It is something that destroys our humanity. And people volunteer to go murder other fellow human beings because maybe they ended up worshiping their own God that was different from somebody else's invisible God. Well, times are changing. 2020 was a reflection on ourselves. It's a mirror. That's why you see 2020. 2021 is going to be a time of change if people decide that enough is enough and we don't want to follow their way of getting you to protest, getting you to riot, getting you scared, getting you intimidated, and realizing that you can't do anything. Well, that whole GameStop situation should show people that instantly change can be made if people actually unify and work together and think opposite of the way they want you to, which is war and famine and fear and poverty and basically putting a boot to your face and holding you to the ground while everybody's too scared to say stop. If there's God forbid or Allah forbid or cabbage forbid, whatever you pray, be able to do anything. Or they might just walk away. But if 1,000 people surrounded that burglar, or that's actually not a burglary, the person that's causing the crime, they surround him and say, it would probably be your best interest to walk away. What do you think that one robber that was going to hurt that person is going to do? You think he's going to fight or she's going to fight 1,000 people? No, so you can actually create change with nothing more than a suggestion. It's time to think in a different way. Now, obviously, videos like mine are never going to go viral. They have been ghost banning my channel since about probably 2013, 2014. And I've said the reason that they're doing that is I must be speaking about things that they don't want people to know about, because if I was some crazy conspiracy theorist that made no sense, well, wouldn't they want to have that on public display? They hide things for a reason. How long should they continue to hide things at this point? The government is showing that it is for Wall Street, it is for corporations, it is for millionaires and billionaires. It is not for what they consider the common man. To me, that is an insult. I am not regular, I am not ordinary, I am not common. I am a strong human being with heart and soul, and tired of people trying to manipulate me. And that's why I've been independent for over almost 20 years at this point. I don't need governments to take care of me. I don't need things from other people to provide. I don't get scared by the plandemic. I have not worn a mask. Now, that doesn't mean you are wrong if you do. I state the fact that I am my own individual. I will not be intimidated. I will not be living my life in fear. I will do the best of my own opportunity to make myself succeed. Now, just imagine if everybody else started doing that and they said no more. You think they would be able to do that? And that's the government's biggest fear. It's like those grasshoppers in the movie Ants. Their biggest fear was having the ants realize that they don't need the grasshoppers and they can unite and then get rid of the common enemy. Notice that you don't need a war. You don't need protests. You don't need violence in the street. You don't need to take over public buildings. You just need to walk away and say, I no longer want to play this game. With Matthew Broderick. Spoiler alert, at the end, the computer learns that the best way to play the game, or the best way to win, is to not play the game. So that's their biggest fear. Why do you think they want us fighting amongst each other? It's divide and conquer. If you are on a Republican side or a Democratic side, whether you're a communist or you're a Democrat, whether you're a Buddhist or you're a Jew, It's all about getting people to stay in their created reality and get you to continue to fight, because whether you ignore it or you fight or you participate in it, you're in their game. The time to walk away from it is now. If you don't think you could stand on your own 2 feet, that means you're not willing enough to do what it takes to make that happen. And it comes with honesty and integrity and the willingness to not give up and not let fear control your life. Because let me tell you something. You want to know the difference between your parents and your governments, wherever you are in the world? Your parents, when you're sad or you're down, will do everything in their power to lift your spirit up, make you feel love, unless they're crazy parents. What do governments do? Do they ever embrace you and give you not only words of inspiration, but actually complete things that are inspiring to you? Or do they always scare you? They always anger you. They always divide you. Do you really think, if your parents were that way, like governments and media are, do you really think they would really want to be your parents and love you? And yet we keep believing in these people because they tell you over and over again, I'm going to do this for you if you vote for me. I am going to provide this for you. I am going to make something sound absolutely wonderful, even though it's going to be nothing like I say it is, because I'm only going to give you the parts that you want to hear. When do people wake up and say enough is enough? And again, and I will stress it again and again, and I know YouTube will already demonetize this, so if you want to check out my Patreon or my Bitcoin and send something like that, I have that all in the description. Please go check it out. Even the like button helps. But they are going to demonetize this. Why? Because they don't want this out there. Why? Because it probably is something that's very true to a lot of people. Stop thinking individually. We are all one. We are of the human race. We are not black. We are not white. We are not male. We are not female. We are not Russian. We are not Chinese. We are not Vietnamese. We are not Brazilian. We are not European. We are not anywhere. We are all of this earth, which makes us terrestrial human beings. It's time we start treating each other that way. Looking the other way while somebody puts a boot on somebody's head is saying that you don't care about your fellow human beings. And if we continue to allow governments, media, Hollywood, and all of these criminals to continuously make us feel like we are less than, and you believe it, it's more your fault than theirs. It's time for a change. And one of the quotes I made on my Facebook page the other day, if you're on my Barn on 11970 Facebook page, is when you do nothing, you change nothing. So if there are people out there watching this complaining about how the world is this and that and unfair and cruel and scary and blah, 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 what have you done to change it? And if you cannot honestly look at yourself in the mirror and said, you know what, I've tried to speak to people, I've tried to make an attempt, I got out of bed, I actually went for a jog, I actually ate some really good food for myself, I actually exercised, I actually meditated, I actually read a book, I actually learned something today, I actually stood up and told somebody, this is what you need to know. Unless you've done those things, you have no right to complain. But here's the beautiful thing, if you haven't done it yet, doesn't mean you cannot start now. Learn from this GameStop experience that's going on. And again, if you don't know what's going on with that GameStop other than what rumors you've heard, put the effort in and learn exactly what it was. And learn about unity. Because if we don't do that, we are creating the path that we are headed towards. If you want that movie and book, 1984, to become a true reality, continue to do nothing, continue to justify what other people continually do in the government and the media, because they will always spin things to make it sound amazing. And all I have to say is, by their deeds, you shall know them. How many presidents, how many governments, how many decades, how many centuries have to go by of them constantly promising you the world and delivering you everything you don't want and giving you a little sprinkle of a little taste of something as it's just enough to survive before you say it's time to awaken. That's all I gotta say. So check out some of my older videos. Watch that video. It's 90 minutes If you cannot spare 90 minutes to learn about what's really going on, I can't help you. If you're not willing to finally say it's time to do things differently, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, what have governments done since the recording of time? They've fought one another. They've had wars. They've killed one another. They've controlled the population. They've experimented with the population. They have lied and manipulated to the populations. They have promised their citizens the world and delivered nothing. And this has been going on again and again and again and again and again since the time of us recording and creating of governments. Hello, McFly. If you don't get it by now, you don't care, or you're just an NPC. I care. I care about more than myself. That's why I make videos like this, even knowing I will be subject to humiliation and insults and demonetization and maybe even the possible loss of my channel. I'm surprised my channel's still up. But notice I'm not here for the purpose of trying to sell you something or become a millionaire off of you while I stepped on your face in the ground laughing at the fact that I've taken advantage. No, I'm here to get everybody to be free, because if we're all free, I win just as much as you win. But if I'm more concerned about my win and saying screw you, then what kind of human being am I? Well, you know what kind of human being I would be? I would be a government official. I mean, they talk about the vaccines, which, if you take it and you want to put something in your body that they can't really test more than, a year, unless they've planned it for longer, which means this is a planned event. That you have the right to put in whatever in your body you want. People have the right to smoke cigarettes and drink alcohol, and put things in their body they know aren't good. But do you think they are approving a lot of these things for your best interest? All you have to do is, for example, I got Hulu recently because they had a $1.99 a month special. But unfortunately, you have to watch a bunch of commercials. Well, almost every single commercial has to do with some form of medication. Now, the funny part is what they all have in common, 90% of them, is one of the side effects of every pill I see, and I even showed it to my wife and joke about it, is possible death. And that's for things like arthritis, which is not something that will kill you. And yet these are FDA government official approved. So is that for your well-being, where something that could help your arthritis has a side effect of possible death? Just look at all the medications out there where they have to go through a speedy version of all the side effects, to the point where the side effects are worse than the actual thing you're trying to not cure, but treat. Because remember, treating means you still have it and you have a lifelong subscription to their medicines to keep you just well enough to continue to buy their product. This is government approved. So you really think governments throughout the world are there for your best interest? Or are they there to feed off of you and make profit off of you? And when you are no longer useful, they throw you away. Look at all the people like Black Lives Matter and Antifa and all these different people that were supposedly victims of all these situations that politicians jumped on. You don't hear from them anymore, because once you're no longer useful to them, they discard you. Is that something your parents do to you? When they don't need you at the moment, they discard you? If you have a parent like that, you don't have a good parent. But I promise you, most parents are not that way to their children. I guarantee you, if you have an animal that you love, you're not beating it every day. And if you are, you're a piece of garbage. Most people who have animals, and that's why I take care of about 15 stray cats, is because I love them and I wish nothing but the best that I can provide for them. That's what caring is all about. Not giving them speeches about when their food might arrive and never give it to them, but actually spending my own money to make sure that they have food 3 times a day, is because that's what you do for people and things that you care about. Governments don't give a crap about you. They care only when they need your vote, because why? It keeps them in power. And what does that do? Keep control over your life. Why do people constantly feel the need to have other people control you? When you're 2 years old, when you're 1 year old, when you're 6 months old and you can't even crawl yet, yeah, you need somebody to take care of you. When you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. At this point, if you cannot take control of yourself, that is a failure on your part. You know, I am no multimillionaire. I am not even a millionaire. I'm not even a thousandaire. But anytime I need funds to be able to survive, I will do legally anything that I need to do to get that and to make sure it happens. Like when I moved from New York to Florida, I lost all of my jobs. I had $300 in my bank account. Mortgage company was about to take my house. I had to find a place to live within 6 months. And I had to somehow come up with the money to be able to buy a house and find a place, because I didn't know where we were going to go. And because I put that effort in, not only did I end up raising enough money to get us to move here, I bought my house cash. I found probably the best location for the amount of money I had at the time to live. Right now, it is January 30th or 31st. I don't know, because I don't care. And it's 70 degrees out, and I'm outside with a t-shirt and shorts on. I am very happy. You know, I could have been like most people. Woe is me. What am I going to do? Because at the time, like I said, I had $300 in my bank account. I lost all of my jobs. I'm about to lose my house. I had every right to be depressed and want to put a gun to my head or say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I got it done. I am not more special than you. You are special. You are beautiful. Stop letting the world teach you that you're this villainous, evil, greedy, manipulative person that can never do anything on their own because you need to be babied all your life. I mean, if you want to believe that, then you get what you give. Like I said, if you do nothing, you change nothing. So if you don't want to take the time to learn about this whole GameStop situation, if you don't want to watch a couple of my videos that I've been telling people since 2013 how to be free by walking away from the system, and you don't need violence, if you just want to sit there and just say, hey, you know, life is the way it is and you like your misery, well, that says more about you than it does anybody else. Because let me tell you something. You know governments lie. You know the media lies. You know all these people in Hollywood lie, and yet you still listen to them. That says something more about you than it does them. Somebody could be a piece of garbage liar, but what's worse is the person that is willing to listen without asking the question why. You want to make your life better? Do something about it. They want you to be violent. They want you to be separate. They don't want you to listen to me because I'm a straight white male. According to them, I'm the devil. Do I sound like it? Do I sound like I'm trying to manipulate you for my own personal gain? Or do you think I'm saying all this stuff because I care about people more than just myself and I want them to be free? Listen to the media? I'm a straight white male. I'm an evil person. Or you listen to your heart and what you're hearing and say, wow, this person actually makes sense. You draw your own conclusion. If you have other people tell you how to live your life, you are a follower, not a leader. You can become one. Instead of believing, you start knowing. Instead of assuming, you start asking. Instead of being afraid, you realize, because you need real eyes to realize, that you have all the courage you need. Remember, Dorothy had the power to go home all along. She just needed to get the brains, the heart, the courage, and walk the path to realize that the man behind the curtain, the government, was just that, a man behind the curtain. It wasn't a scary monster. And she had to walk her path and gain the strength, gain the intelligence, and lose the fear to be able to realize that she had the power to go home all along. It wasn't the shoes, it was her. How many more metaphors in movies and songs do you need before somebody listens and wakes up? I don't let the government control me anymore. Nobody's going to tell me to wear a mask. Nobody's going to stick a needle in my arm ever again. Last time I got any shot was probably 25 years ago, and yet I'm still here. They always get you with the what if or what could happen. There's always the next boogeyman around the corner. There's always that next illness ready to strike. Well, problem, reaction, solution. The ironic part is with problem, reaction, solution, it's usually done by the same entity. And it always comes back to the government, the media, Hollywood, and all the sellouts who would allow themselves to hurt their fellow human beings for a couple of dollars. If that's your legacy, don't be too proud. Anybody can make money. It's how you make it. If you have to step on your fellow man to do it, you're not a good person. All the money I make, when I make my money, I do it by just working hard, selling things that I own, trying to invest in things like comic books and gold and silver and things like that. There's a right way to be able to make a living. And if you don't think you have that power, that says more about you. So like I said, you can change it anytime you want. And if you don't want to, whose fault is that? So if you need government to take control of your life, is it any wonder why your life is under control? So if you want to leave a comment, that's great. If you want to give a thumbs up, that's perfect. If you ever want to donate to my PayPal account, a Patreon account, or send a Bitcoin or something, I would love it. It's not required, it's not mandatory, and that's why I don't say, oh, if you want this information, you have to go on my Patreon exclusively. I put it out there, it resonates or it doesn't, but at least I give you the option, and I allow you to think for yourself. Just imagine if governments in Hollywood and education departments and everything else, and they did that and allowed that to happen. Well, if you want it to happen, you better start making it happen. And again, no violence needed. That's what they don't want you to know. They want you to fight amongst yourselves. That's why there's so much division in this world. It's done purposely because you're fighting amongst yourselves, you're sitting in your house all depressed, but you're staying in their system. That's what they want ultimately, the control over you. Stop giving away your control. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.